He raised his fist, but the guard swiftly moved out of the way. Randy lost his balance, crashed to the ground, and beer splashed across the pavement. The crowd erupted in laughter, cameras already capturing his humiliation. But what happened next turned into a true nightmare for him. London, Buckingham Palace. Tourists crowded against the barriers, clutching cameras and smartphones, eager to capture the famous royal guards in their impeccable red tunics and towering bearskin hats. Some posed for selfies, others recorded videos, while a few simply stood in quiet awe, mesmerized by the soldiers' unwavering discipline, a living symbol of British tradition. Everyone knew the golden rule: don't touch the guards, don't interfere with their duty, don't provoke them. These weren't actors in costumes. They were elite military personnel, trained to maintain composure and order under any circumstance. But Randy Brooks wasn't the kind of man who respected tradition. A 38-year-old American, tall and lanky, his face flushed and eyes glassy, staggered through the crowd with a stupid grin. His dirty white tank top, emblazoned with freedom, was stained with grease and splattered beer, which he sloshed carelessly with every unsteady step. But he didn't care. The crowd paid him little mind, until he noticed the guard. Randy stopped, squinting as if sizing up the motionless figure in the red tunic. The guard was tall, well-built, his expression unreadable, eyes fixed straight ahead. He didn't react to the noise, the chatter, or the laughter of the tourists. "Hey, look at these guys, standing like robots!" Randy cackled loudly, jerking his chin toward the soldier. He jabbed a finger at him, almost as if expecting a response. The guard didn't move. A few tourists turned their heads, noticing the drunk American. Some smirked, but most just looked away, unwilling to get involved. Randy snorted, frowning, and stepped closer. "What, you scared? Can't even blink?" he taunted, leaning in so close his beer-soaked breath nearly brushed the guard's face. The crowd tensed. Some held their breath. Others reached for their phones, sensing something was about to happen. Randy smirked and took another step forward, wildly swinging his beer cup near the guard's face. A few drops flew through the air, landing on the perfectly polished tunic. The crowd gasped. The guard remained still. But the air grew thick with tension. Randy felt like a star. His glazed-over eyes darted across the crowd, scanning for a reaction, and he grinned smugly when he saw several people staring at him. Some frowned, others shook their heads disapprovingly, but most simply filmed in silence. The glow of phone screens lit up. Cameras zoomed in on him. He loved it. "These guys are a joke, huh? Just some dress-up dolls," he bellowed, flinging his arm toward the guard as if presenting him to the audience. The crowd stiffened. Randy lifted his beer cup to his lips and took a long, exaggerated sip, deliberately savoring it. Liquid dribbled down his chin, but he didn't bother wiping it away. Then, tilting his head back, he let out a loud, obnoxious burp, more of a challenge than an accident. A ripple of disgust passed through the crowd. A woman in a light blue coat recoiled, her lips curling in revulsion. A young man in glasses shook his head in disappointment. An older British gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard frowned, muttering something about bloody hooligans. "This is too much," a girl with a camera whispered, uncertain if she should keep filming. "Have some respect." A man beside her exhaled in frustration, crossing his arms. But Randy wasn't listening. The beer had wrapped his mind in a warm, drunken haze, leaving only one sensation ringing in his head, the thrill of control. He wasn't afraid. No one here could stop him. He knew he was in a foreign country. He knew people around him disapproved. He even knew he was being filmed. But inside, a spark ignited. He wanted more. The crowd was his audience. The guard was his prop, and he was the center of attention. Randy staggered forward, turning back to the motionless soldier. Not a single muscle on the guard's face twitched. Complete silence. That cold, indifferent wall of discipline suddenly felt like a challenge. "I bet he won't even flinch if I throw a punch," Randy announced with a smug grin, suddenly swinging his arm back as if to strike. The crowd froze. Someone gasped. Someone bit their lip. But most just kept filming. The guard didn't move, but the air itself was now thick with tension. Randy had just crossed the line. Randy swung his fist, ready to strike, and the crowd held its breath, frozen in anticipation. Some instinctively flinched, sensing that something big was about to go down. But before his hand could connect, something happened that no one expected. The guard stepped aside. The movement was so sharp, so precise, it almost seemed unreal. Just a moment ago, he had stood there like a statue, and now, in the blink of an eye, he had shifted, leaving nothing but empty space in front of Randy. Randy hadn't anticipated this. He had put too much force into his swing, expecting his fist to hit solid resistance. Instead, it met nothing but air. His momentum threw him forward, and as he instinctively tried to correct himself, his legs tangled beneath him. His center of gravity shifted, his arms flailed wildly, only making the fall more ridiculous. At that exact moment, the plastic beer cup he was still holding slipped from his grip. In slow motion, golden liquid arced through the air before splattering onto the stone pavement with a wet slap. And then, Randy went down. He hit the ground hard, landing on his hands and knees against the unforgiving pavement. Beer soaked his jeans, the sticky liquid seeping into the fabric. A strangled wheeze escaped his lungs from the impact, and for a second he remained motionless in the most humiliating pose, arms sprawled, knees in the dirt, face twisted in a mix of pain, shock, and sheer embarrassment. The crowd held its breath. For one brief moment there was silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Even those filming seemed frozen, processing what had just happened. And then, the crowd exploded with laughter. A teenage boy was the first to crack up. Then, someone else joined in, and within seconds, the entire square was roaring. Some people clutched their stomachs, others bent over in hysterics. One man whistled and clapped, while others pointed at Randy, unable to contain their amusement. "Oh my God, did you see that? He dodged it like he's in the Matrix. I got that on video, man. This is gold." Laughter rippled through the crowd in waves, growing louder and louder. Randy, soaked, humiliated, and unable to process what had just happened, blinked, trying to make sense of it. He lifted his head, but all he saw were laughing faces staring down at him. Some people gave him a thumbs down, others had their phones aimed right at his face, and a few were already typing furiously, probably posting the footage online. And the guard? He just stood there, as if nothing had happened. The laughter only got louder. People slapped each other on the back. Some wiped tears from their eyes, struggling to breathe through their fits of hysteria. "Did he just dodge that?" shouted a guy in sunglasses, whipping his head between the guard and Randy. "Oh my God, he fell by himself!" A girl doubled over, clutching her stomach. "Instant karma!" someone called out from the back, setting off another round of laughter. Phones were rolling. Some people were already live streaming, and the comments flooded in instantly. But in the middle of all the chaos, one person wasn't laughing. The guard calmly returned to his original stance. No reaction, no emotion, just a perfect, disciplined step back into position, as if nothing had ever happened. The contrast between his absolute stillness and the sheer chaos in the crowd only made the whole situation even more absurd. Randy, however, was furious. He shot up to his feet, his face even redder, now not just from alcohol, but from sheer boiling humiliation. His hair was a mess, his hands trembled, and his breath came in ragged gasps. He looked around, searching for someone, anyone, who would back him up. But there was no support. Everyone was just having a good time at his expense. "Hey! He made me fall!" Randy waved his arms frantically, pointing at the guard like he had just been the victim of some conspiracy. But that only made things worse. A few people clapped sarcastically, and someone in the crowd even yelled out, "Yeah, sure, buddy." The laughter started up again, this time not at his fall, but at how ridiculous he looked trying to justify it. But then, the mood shifted. People noticed movement near the barricades. Two large men in black suits were walking toward Randy with steady, deliberate steps. Security. Their faces were unreadable. No smiles, no amusement. Just business. "Sir, you need to leave." One of them spoke. His tone was calm, firm. Not aggressive, but absolute. Randy froze. For the first time all night, reality hit him. He turned to the crowd as if hoping for someone to stand up for him, but no one did. People were still filming, but now it wasn't entertainment anymore. It was the inevitable conclusion. "But he... now!" The guard didn't even let him finish. His voice left no room for argument. And then, the crowd erupted in applause. People cheered, whistled, clapped. Some even chanted mockingly as Randy was escorted away. The cameras kept rolling. Videos were already flooding social media. "Drunk tourist tries to punch a Queen's guard and fails miserably. Royal guard dodges like a pro. Tourist embarrasses himself. This is why you never mess with the Queen's guard." Randy grumbled curses under his breath, glancing over his shoulder, but it was over. He was no longer the center of attention. Now, he was just another viral joke, destined for the evening news and the latest round of TikTok memes. And the guard? He hadn't moved, as if nothing had ever happened.